Yes, sir. We back. We back. Open gym. It's been a minute, but here we are. Me, Rondell, with T Nesbitt right over there.
Hey,
How you feeling, T?
okay. Nah, I'm cool, man. I'm happy.
Well, we know what T was watching over the weekend.
Yeah, buddy.
I mean, I was watching it too. So
Man, listen, bro. That's what I love, boy. We would be here all day if I wanted. We got to talk about some of that. Smoking on that pookie pack, but still.
Ooh.
Nah, but you know me, bro. I'm. One thing I will say about that is and how it tie in. I don't believe in filters. You know what I'm saying? If you feel some type of way, say it. So it is what it is. If it's beef, it's beef. If it's drama, it's drama. If that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. So shout out to that. But I'm happy to be back, man. Happy we got some hoops to talk about. Happy we back.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. So because it's the off season, I decided to collect on some off season moves. Everything that teams were making during the off season. I got a few of them right up here, which is crazy because now that I think on it, you can't even see it.
Yeah, okay.
What you mean?
Oh, on there, yeah, I can see it on there. Just tell me. We're dealing with some technical difficulties, everybody. So bear with us. But what's the first team on the docket?
It's the 76ers. Okay.
So
As I read them out, you're just gonna make your points on them, grade them. Well, we'll both do that,
gotcha.
and then yeah, we'll just keep going through all 30 teams until we're done.
Yeah.
So the 76ers, they drafted Tyrese Maxey, 21st overall, Isaiah Joe, 49th overall, Paul Reed, 58th overall. They traded for Danny Green, uh, Terrence Ferguson, Seth Curry, Tony Bradley, and in free agency they picked up Dwight Howard, Ryan Beckoff,
Broke off. Yep.
and the players that they lost, they traded Al Horford, Josh Richardson, Zaire Smith, and in free agency they lost Alec Burks, Raul Nito, Ryan Burkoff, Cal Quinn, Glenn Robinson. Hold up, what? How you add the man and then lose him?
At who?
Ryan Breakoff.
Broke off. I think he might have been with them last year. Probably cut him, sign him again. But either way it goes, doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
He's not gonna play a lot. From what it looks like it was just a whole lot of depth moves. They're trying to build around Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, which is the right thing to do. But to me, the biggest offseason move that they made was acquisition of Doc Rivers. That was always the number one move. They did help themselves out by getting shooters. That's where Danny Green come into play at. That's where Seth Curry come into play at. You got to.
Did you just say Danny Green and shooters in the same sentence?
Danny Green's a shooter. He didn't look like a shooter with the Lakers.
Not anymore.
Well, he's still a shooter. He had a bad run. But
I guess.
at the end of the day, he's still a champ. He still was a starter for a championship squad in back to back years. So I mean, you can't underrate that factor. And just like with Paul George, I'm not going to let a bad run dictate how I feel about the overall grand scheme of things. Everybody has their moments, good or bad, happy or sad at the end of the day. But Danny Green's still a shooter. He's more of a shooter than anything else. But ultimately, everything comes down to Embiid and Ben Simmons. So if those two guys aren't coming in and producing the way that they need to produce, which they are going to be able to do that with shooters. That team last year, Al Horford was a huge mistake. They had to pay the price to do that. They had to get off a first round pick to be able to get rid of Al Horford, which in hindsight, that's still a good move because you open things up. When you can admit to your mistakes and fix them, that's the true sign of maturity and growth. And that's what Philly was able to do. But again, nothing's going to matter if Ben Simmons doesn't bring it, if Joel B doesn't bring it, and if Doc Rivers coaches like he coached last year. If those things happen, then they're going to be stuck. But at the end of the day, it boils down to putting shooters around to give yourself a best chance to win. And I think that they did do that, especially with Steph Curry. I think
Right.
Steph Curry is a bigger acquisition than Danny Green.
Yeah, like when I look at it, I'm looking at Seth Curry and Dwight Howard being like the biggest acquisitions they made. Like, trade him for Seth Curry. He can run the offense. He could definitely take that ball out of Ben Simmons' hands, and like Dwight could help down there with Embiid when Embiid don't want to play
Yeah,
defense at times, and then also he could score when Embiid don't want to score.
absolutely.
And I
And
guess Tony Ferguson is also a big pickup also.
yeah, it's kind of like a roll of a dice. Like the Sixers have a lot of players that you're gonna have to earn it, but you're going to beat somebody out to earn it. So I think competition, I still believe in that, no matter what a lot of shortcuts that people try to do to make it easier on themselves. I still believe in pushing yourself. I still believe in competitiveness. So they're bringing a lot of guys that are hungry, that want to play and want to prove something. So they're going to be able to say, well, this five is the best five because they went out in training camp and they showed it. They went out in preseason and showed it. If there is going to be a preseason, they just they're putting pieces together. And Dwight, I think that's an underrated, aspect of it too, because he's at that level, maturity aside, and I do think he's grown over the years. But Embiid is kind of where Dwight Howard was, the best big man, arguably. You can debate it with Jokic or whatever, but he's over there in that area where he's looked at as one of the premier big men in this league. And Dwight Howard has been there, and he's fell off. Dwight Howard's seen it all, and he's came through and won the championship at the end of the day. So if he can throw some of that knowledge to Embiid, if he can give Embiid some of that, why he won the Defensive Player of the Year, those years a few years back, if he can give some of that knowledge to Joe Embiid to help his game out, that's going to help them tremendously. Because Philly disappointed because Philly they just did. They
Right.
had a good, they had talent, but fit means something. Work ethic means something.
I mean,
I
I
want
get,
to mean something.
yeah, yeah, but like when you saw how they faltered in the playoffs, you could tell that they needed help.
Mhm.
That they just couldn't rely on Embiid, especially with Ben Simmons being out. So
Yeah.
I mean, overall, I would have to say like, why do I got the Blazers up right now? Overall, I would have to say like the 76ers did a good job. Especially getting Doc Rivers over in the offseason also.
Yeah. That's important. I mean, they're you're still gonna have to see it to believe it, but because before this we were talking about maybe trading one of those guys. And that was never going to be you don't get better if trade Ben Simmons. You don't get better by trading Joel Embiid. I've always thought that they should have tried to work that out together. And now you can look at it and say, well, we put the pieces around you to make it work. If you don't make it work, now we can kind of look at who we need to move. But let's give it a real shot before we do something like that. So I think that's where they're at now. So bravo to them. Let's see how it goes. They
Right.
still in the arm race. They still have heavy competition because I don't as much as I think these moves are okay, I still don't think that these moves take them and push them to the top tier. They're still in that same area, but that's knowing that Embiid and Ben Simmons still have room to grow and they can get better. So that's again, everything's going to come down to those three factors: Simmons, Embiid, Doc. Those things work out, Philly can go somewhere. If they don't, Philly would be out just like they were last year.
Right. So you know anything about the draft that was going on? Like the players they picked up?
Oh yeah, for sure. You said it was Maxi, and
Yeah, it was
again with that,
Maxi, Isaiah Joe, and Paul Reed.
okay,
I feel like I heard Maxi's name, but I haven't paid attention to college ball in a
that's
minute.
Kentucky. Yeah. Death pieces. Those are those they fall into the line of the Steph Currys and the Danny Greens. Like Maxi can take Danny Green's spot,
Right.
and he would earn it. You know what I'm saying? Because Danny Green is going to have to earn his spot. That's where the competition comes into play at. You ain't hitting shots? Well, come take a seat right here. We'll throw Maxi in there. And another underrated factor is we don't know how the 72 game thing is going to be. So those veteran, Danny Green was doing all that complaining earlier. Oh, LeBron said he's not going to play. LeBron said he's not going to be here. Well, guess what, Danny Green, you won't be here either. But you don't have that pool. If you feel like you don't want to play, we can make that real easy for you. Come sit right here. So it's more so the guys they brought in are going to push those vets because if you're not hungry, you're going to be complacent. There's going to be some people here that's going to be ready to take your job. So again, it's death pieces. I don't think in the grand scheme of things it's going to matter that much. This is more of a regular season thing with the young guys, maybe some G League. Outside of Maxi, he may get some burn, but the other guys, they're G League guys. We're running with Brokoff. Brokoff fits that same kind of mode where it's just if injuries happen. I don't know if you remember the old 2K games when you're playing franchise and you are allowed to talk to your players and tell them like, okay, you're going to be a starter, you're going to be a bench player, you're only going to play with injuries.
I ain't gonna lie to you. I was a NBA Live guy, so
You're pathetic. You are pathetic. Live?
come on now. NBA Live '07 was the game,
You're
bro.
pathetic.
With Tracy McGrady on the cover. Come
As
on,
much
man.
as I love T Mac, you're still pathetic. There's never been a live better than 2K in the history of video games.
NBA Live '07 was way better than 2K.
What is wrong with you, man?
It was way
I
better.
know what you did in your hiatus. Get off of that, man.
Yes, man. I'm
But
still waiting on Live to come back.
oh,
To come back. Yes, sir.
so I've been saying that for the last 10 years, brothers. It's a wrap. I wish them just back to competition. I wish Live did bring that competition out there, but they're not. They're a long way from Kansas, Toto. But no, I mean it's more one of those. It's you're only gonna play during the injury kind of situation. So we'll see how it plays out.
Okay. And shout out to Logan. Shout out Logan Morris, Loganity himself. He had a show yesterday. What was it? 5 to 8, I think.
Logie Low, think
Yes,
so.
sir. He commented telling us the desk is in shambles. Well, yeah, I kind of see that.
Did he have a table, ladders, chairs match in here?
I don't know. He might have.
Logan, get the tables.
He might have.
My guy in the back of fries. What's up, Logie?
But he asked, is Kevin Love a Cav to start the season? And I wasn't gonna go straight to the Cavs, but I guess we could. We could talk about them.
Yeah, Kevin Love's gonna start the season with us for sure. Well, excuse me, start the season with Cleveland. Um, I think it's kind of one of those things. Like Kevin Love is good enough to help you,
Right.
but he's not good enough at this point to help you not be bad. If you want to still get a high draft pick, but he's enough to help you compete. Like he's just kind of one of those guys where, just like I was saying about Dwight, Kevin Love is going to make other guys better. You know what I'm saying? Like he's going to help Drummond out still. He's going to help Larry Nance out still. He's going to help those kind of dudes because he's an ultimate teammate. He's a consummate professional. He's and one thing I really love about Kevin Love, and I think this is swept under the rug a little too much. He speaks on mental health and awareness so much, and that's so important. Not just basketball, but people in general. I think there's so many people that don't understand mental health or don't pay too much attention to it, and that's something that's it's just as important as physical health. And he's bringing it to the forefront. He's transparent with it, and those kind of things makes it easier as a basketball player because that's so much of what a basketball player is. It's not just athleticism. It's not just talent because everybody there has that. It's the mental game that everybody doesn't have, and having somebody out there that's like that, that's a beautiful thing. So I think Kevin Love is it's one of those things where you're good if you keep him, you're good if you trade him, but we don't have to trade him if it doesn't. We're not just gonna give him away, but he definitely starts the season with them.
Okay. And the picks the players that they got was in the draft. They got Isaac
Okaro,
Okaro. I
yeah.
was gonna say Okoro. Isaac Okaro, 5th overall. They traded for JaVale McGee.
Hmm.
They re-signed Matthew Dellavedova
Yep,
after they lost him. And they also traded for Damon Dotson.
yep.
The players that they lost was Tristan Thompson, which I did not know about that,
Hmm.
to the Celtics of all places.
Yeah. Mhm.
Matt Mooney and Anti
Zizic.
Zizic.
Yep.
They also traded Jordan Bell and Alonzo
McKinney. Yep.
So
Carl, much needed. Much needed because our defense was atrocious. I hit 50 on the Cavs defense. Me. And that shouldn't happen, man. Like it's you need somebody that is going to stop somebody, and we have enough scorers, we have enough shooters, we have enough guys that need the ball in their hands. Our backcourt is small. Darius Garland and Colin Sexton, even though Colin Sexton plays bigger than his actual listed height, he's still small.
Wait, last time I watched a Cavs game, they weren't on the court at the same time.
They try to stagnate it a lot because they couldn't really play together. But a lot of that had to do with nobody could stop anybody.
Right.
If you can run a small backcourt if you have somebody that can guard on the perimeter. Portland's a good example. That's why they traded for Robert Covington. They know the backcourt's small. Lillard and McCollum's going to give you buckets on buckets, but they're not going to stop a soul. So if you got somebody like Covington, they try to Reza, there's going to be different guys that you can throw on somebody's best perimeter player just to make sure you don't have those problems. That's why Carl was, out there in Cleveland because you could have went Denny, but if you would have went Denny, that's another scorer. That's another guy that needs the ball in his hands. He doesn't help your defense. If you go Toppin, that's somebody that's going to have to either be on the bench with Kevin Love, or you're going to have to move Kevin Love, or you're going to have to try to put him at a small forward, which he can't play defense either. So you're going to have to score 130 points every game to be able to have a shot. A Curl, he's going to shut something down. He's lengthy, he's athletic than a mug. He's a guy that doesn't need the ball in his hands. He fits on any type of roster, and he's still young. And another underrated factor, he's the first one and done ever to come out of Auburn. Shout out to Charles Barkley. He wasn't a one and done guy, but that's something big because there was talent. Chuck Person too.
Oh, he said come out of Auburn or Harvard?
Auburn.
What?
Auburn.
Auburn.
Yeah.
Auburn.
Auburn. Auburn. Auburn. Tomato. Tomato. Food.
The way he just said that name, I'm like, what did he just say?
Auburn.
Okay.
Sheesh.
All right.
Spelling champ. But anyway, that's a big deal because that doesn't happen. Anything that's rare is always gonna be something big to me. So, and again, they had talent, they just never had that one and done talent. So he still has room to grow. He's going to need to work on that 3 point shot because he can't hit a shot for nothing from out there. But he's athletic. He does the things that day one will get you playing time. He should be the starting small forward. When you move Sadie Osman to the bench, I think that helps your bench unit out. Kevin Porter's another thing, another entity. Once he can get his legal troubles out the way, last I heard, I think he punched some girl and shot a gun at her or something like that. So we have to see how that plays out. But Okoro's good assurance, and he's there's something about Cleveland players and women and violence and all this drama that for some reason it keeps happening. Shout out to Kareem Hunt. Way to redeem yourself, buddy. And I hope the same thing for Kevin Porter. But it's still an issue that you don't want to have to deal with. But I think that if once that gets settled out the way, then maybe Kevin Porter go into that starting two guard spot, or he comes off the bench, or Carl starts. You can kind of work a different um, you can work kind of things around when you have a guy like a Carl because he's low maintenance. So I thought that was a great pickup for him. They had to kind of swing for the fences because the Carl, he's that too. If you can work on him and if you can make him learn the stuff that he doesn't do well already, that could be super beneficial because you don't know what his cap is as far as his potential. So that's a beautiful thing for him. So
Well, looking at it, I don't know much about him. Like I said, I don't pay attention to college ball as much as I used to. But the trade, I guess you could say, JaVale McGee and Dellavedova, I guess. I'm looking at this and I don't see much. I don't see much change in this team right now.
it wasn't a lot of it because it's still
Like they're still in rebuild mode.
yeah, we're still in
I could
that
definitely
area.
tell that looking at this.
And
It's like you say this kid coming up, he can really help defensively. And I mean JaVale McGee, he's not a liability like he used to be on the defense, but he's still not a dominant force down in the post. Dellavedova, we know what he's like in the backcourt.
Yeah.
He's a dog. So yeah, and I don't trust anyone coming out the Knicks, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, and Dotson, he's
Like I don't remember much about Dotson, but I don't remember him being spectacular.
it's a reason that he leaves the Knicks. You know what I mean? Like he was kind of that little bright light, so to speak. Like it wasn't a big shiny bright light, but it was like a little crack,
Yeah, like
and that was him.
he was just never spectacular.
No.
Spectacular. He was just there.
He's a solid guy. He's got size. That's the thing. Once you look at these moves, we're putting size in the backcourt. We're putting size out there. Period. Larry Nance, he's 6'7". Kevin Love's 6'9", 6'10", but he's not athletic at all. JaVale McGee, he fits that thing. So it was size, athleticism, and some type of scoring punch with Dotson. So I think it's just kind of the same thing I was saying about Philly. That's what's happening in Cleveland. Nobody's job is secure. You know what I mean? Like there's nobody that you can even Colin Sexton. He was our best player last year, but you're not going to say your job's secure. Everybody's going to have to compete. Everybody's going to have to work. Our best five is going to be put out there. Our second best five is going to come off the bench, and the rest of the guys are going to have to find their roles. But everybody's going to have to compete. Training camp should be fun. So that's what we were trying to accomplish, and it's still in that realm of we can still rebuild and have veterans, and we'll revisit this come trade deadline because Kevin Love's value might be higher, and then we can make a move because anybody can be traded. You always hear through the media that this player's contract is this and he can never get traded. And you look up, you heard that about Al Horford. I would rather trade for Kevin Love than Al Horford. So, but I don't think Cleveland's at that point where they have to give up a first round pick to be able to make that transaction happen. Philly did, so it's they're just trying to figure stuff out right now. And if I'm Cleveland, I'm doing the same thing because there's a certain Imani Bates right around the corner that will be a possibility. So think as long as you have to for that sustained success. And small market teams have to do that. LeBron James ain't walking back through that door again. So
I mean, you never know. He said he wanted to end his career as a Cavs, so
you know what I'm going to tell you again.
what?
I say I want to wake up next to Janae Ioko. Just because you want that to happen, don't mean it's going to happen.
That's crazy.
That's all I'm saying.
But
I don't even know if I'm saying her name right. I don't care.
I mean, you definitely not saying her last name.
That's cool. Call me boo. Tell me how to say it correctly.
But we got another comment from Maurice Edwards.
Coach.
Yeah, Coach, shout out, Coach. You still got that spot. Thursday.
Always,
Boy,
always.
Nutty Newark, just show up, man.
Especially with the Ravens doing, especially with that money. Come on over, Coach.
But he said the Cavs should. I think he said the Cavs should have traded, or no, the Cavs should have drafted Obi Toppin and traded K Love, and then Isaac got a two-way potential though.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't 100% disagree with that either.
Right.
We could have went either way with that one. I just think with Okaro, you don't have to get rid of anybody. I think with Kevin Love, I mean, if we would have picked up Toppin, you have to get rid of Kevin Love because they can't play together. You don't really want your top five pick coming off the bench again.
Who's to say they couldn't play together?
They can't play together. I
You
mean,
couldn't move one of them to the 3 or the 4.
technically,
the 4 or the 5 or whatever.
technically, you do whatever you want to. Kevin Love can play the point guard if you wanted to do
I
that.
mean, Kevin Love could play center. We saw him play that a few times.
They get killed defensively. And again, that was the problem with Cleveland. It was the defense. Our offense was all right. There's scores on that team. But if you can't stop nobody, you're going to be in a world of trouble. Carl was by far the best defender in the class. So it was just kind of one of those things. Like, I think Carl was more of a long term thing. I don't think they're necessarily looking at what a car is going to be at 19. They're looking at what a car is going to be at 23. Once you're at that age and your body fills out, because he's got a great body on him now, Pauls. But it's
Yo.
he's gonna fill out, a lot different. He's gonna get some of that weight room action. He's gonna get a personal trainer. He's gonna playing in a season. You grow and you develop. You can take it back to there's many examples of guys that come in real thin and you look up, they put their weight up, they get stronger, they get tougher, and that's what's gonna happen with the Carl. And he's already has a nice little template to start with. So I just think it's one of those things where they're thinking long term, and we already have the best defender in the class, and we're going to make him better because I'm going to slap Okaro on the best offensive threat every game. If I'm Cleveland, he may get killed sometimes. There might be times Durant's going to give you 50, but that's going to help you in the long run when Durant's on the downside. LeBron's going to destroy you some nights, but LeBron destroys everybody. But in the long run, you're going to look at everybody else and say, well, I can man up on him because I've dealt with LeBron as a rookie. He humbled me. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's a good fit. It's a good thing. But again, coach not wrong. But it's just you don't. I like to stray away from not having to do stuff. And by not picking up top end, you didn't have to do anything. And the Knicks is probably a better fit for him anyway. He brings the type of stuff that gets the Knicks fans, going. They ain't caring about winners and losses. They want to see that windmill off a fast break. They need something to believe in, and Toppin's gonna give them more to believe in. Even though I still think they should have went Halliburton at the time, but the Knicks are going to Nick.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know much about this draft class. That's crazy.
Well, you need to educate yourself some more, sir. We'll
This
get you there.
draft class never seemed interesting to me.
It really wasn't. It wasn't that great of a draft class, but I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, my study habits.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
going to know what I need to know.
I mean, I was more interested about the trades or the pickups this off season than who was getting drafted. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Well, that's still always the exciting part
Right.
of the off season, regardless of the fact. It's just now you see a brand
Yeah,
new
but
batch of new guys.
it's at least always like a name or two that draw you to the draft.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But I mean, this Lamelo, I mean, technically was, but that was more for all the extra stuff because most people haven't seen Lamelo too much recently. He was over there in Lithuania.
Melo, he's a street baller. You could tell.
He,
He's nothing to really gloat about.
no, but that's the NBA that we're living in too. Defense ain't a premium. They want the flashy dashy. Like New York was drooling over that dude. I'm surprised they didn't trade everything for him. But I
And
mean,
whoever you said, I forgot what name you said, but coach agreed with you. So that's exactly who the Knicks should have got
Halliburton.
undrafted.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's a man. Halliburton is the truth. Like that dude, 6'5", I think, 6'4", 6'5", can shoot, handle the ball, rebound. He's exciting too, but Toppin was still perennially mocked as a top five guy. Like
Right.
this is one of those draft classes where 5 through 11 they're like this. You know what I mean? They're neck to neck. So you really, it's not like you reached any, at all. And then the draft kind of went a different way too. Like Patrick Williams went 4. Nobody was expecting him to go that high. But Patrick Williams could have went 9 and nobody would have blinked an eye. Denny was looked at to be where Patrick Williams went. So it's just kind of, it was pick your flavor. It was like going to Clown Cone and, getting them Tootsie Rolls.
I mean, I'm not
Whatever.
gonna lie. After like the first three picks, I don't think anyone really paid that much attention unless they were like you or coach that actually love to study all these players and everything.
Well, that's cool. I'll let most people take the Stephen A. Smith route and not know nothing, and
Come
I'll
on, man.
continue
Stop
to
going after Stephen A.
get my grizzle on and take my craft seriously. I ain't mad at that one.
Stop going after Stephen A. Man.
Stephen A., you wanna have a problem? Come holler at me. I'm always here, buddy. We
All
can
right,
do this.
let's move on to
I'll
the
tag you.
Blazers. I'm gonna try to get us to the Bulls before we go to the commercial. But the Blazers, they have drafted CJ LB, 46 overall. I hope I said his name right. If I'm butchering it, I'm butchering it. They traded for Robert Covington, Enos Cantor, free agency, Derrick Jones Jr., which was the biggest surprise to me. I thought he would have stayed with the Heat, but I guess not. They lost Trevor Ariza, which that trade is crazy. Oklahoma City Thunder via Rockets and Pistons. What? I gotta look at that trade again.
He
They
get treated
also
like a groupie, man. They pass him around more than a Kardashian, boy. I'm telling
right,
you.
man, that's crazy.
Yeah. I hope he never
Hold on, I
owns a
wasn't
home.
supposed to agree with that. I'm supposed to tell you nah.
Do you think you ever able to tell me nah? When did that ever work out for you? Let me know when it does. But no, I mean, Portland made right. They made death moves.
Hold on. I ain't finished. They also traded. They also lost Mario
Hydzonia, yep.
Hazonia, Jalen Adams, Hassan Whiteside. I didn't know they lost him in free agency. Moses Brown, Waylon Gabriel, Jalen Horde, and Caleb. Not even gonna pronounce that last name.
They didn't lose much. That was the thing with
Yeah,
them.
if anything, I'm looking at like the only starter I think they lost was Hassan Whiteside, right?
Yeah, but Hassan Whiteside, that was kind of like a moot point because the only reason he was there is because Nurkic was hurt and Zach Collins was hurt, so they needed another big to kind of work that out. It was always known. It was one of the worst kept secrets. Hassan Whiteside was only going to spend 1 year there. He's going to be that kind of player anyway. Nobody's going to love Hassan Whiteside. People are going to like him. Nobody's going to love him. But I think with Portland, they had their core. They're going to keep their core. Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, that's your
Right.
core. But they added depth pieces that was going to help them in areas that they lacked. Ennis Cantor, you don't want him to be your starter, especially that pick and roll
I mean, they
defense.
got Covington also.
Yeah, but that's the Ariza factor, where Ariza is looked at as what Covington actually is. Ariza's washed at this point. Ariza is just he gets a whole bunch of money for really them Laker years. That's where he's at this point. That being a starter on them Lakers championship teams is still allowing him to steal money from the NBA. Keep cashing the checks though, brother. I ain't mad at you. You know, I love to see somebody eat, but that's just the facts of it.
You
He's
said
still,
Ariza?
yeah, he's stealing money. He's making like $13 million a year,
For
and
what?
he's not helping anybody do nothing really.
That's crazy.
I don't. It looks good. Like Ariza looks like the guy that you create on 2K. You know, if I want an athletic guy that can hit a couple threes and look good in shorts and a freaking headband, I'm gonna put Ariza out there. That's the kind of guy I want. But as far as helping you win on the court, he's not doing a lot of that anymore. He did in his earlier years, but he was also playing with Kobe Bryant and Pop, so that helps a lot.
Right.
But Covington is a significant upgrade over him. And again, like I said earlier, when you have a backcourt like that, you need a guy like Covington that can come in and guard your best perimeter defender. And I think even though I hated that Rockets experiment with the small ball stuff, I think that helped him out so much that Covington had to guard so many different varieties of guys. So now you throw him on a small forward, it's going to help him out so much because I've had to deal with, I had to guard Anthony Davis. That's not the right, fit for me. But now when I'm guarding, insert Andrew Wiggins, I'm going to be able to shut him down because of the experience with that. So, that's a good thing. And then you still got Melo. Melo doesn't have to be the starter anymore. Melo doesn't have to play 25, 30 minutes. Melo can just come in and get buckets. And that's the best Melo you'll ever get is when Melo can come in there and just do his job.
How come that's not on here? I
With
forgot.
Melo,
Yeah, I forgot they re-signed Melo, and then coach is saying they re-signed Rodney Hood too.
oh yeah, that's the other factor. That's another thing. Like now your backcourt gets bigger. So when CJ McCollum gets a breather, you can throw Rodney Hood out there. He gets you buckets. But again, most of their team was bucket getters. Covington doesn't need to, get buckets. Covington's going to hit the open 3-point shot, and he's going to shut you down on the defensive end. Covington is going to make Carmelo better. Covington is going to make Rodney Hood better, CJ McCollum better, Damian Lillard better. He's that kind of guy. Just the same thing I was saying about Okoro. That's what he needs to look at. He should be way better than Covington, but you need to see Okoro be what Covington is right now out the gate. That's what you want out of your top five defender is somebody that can come in and be instantly like that. But I think that helps out. And then again, Ennis Cantor's out there. I can guarantee you, Covington's going to see a lot of minutes with Ennis Cantor because it helps with the pick and roll defense. Covington's going to be another factor that will help with that. Zach Collins, when he like Ennis Cantor is basically doing the same job that Hassan Whiteside did for $18 million less. And he's familiar with them because he played with them before. And his Cantor still can come in and get buckets. He still can come in and rebound. Portland has a team that now everybody out there can do what they need to do. And do what they're good at, not what they feel like they have to do. And another underrated thing, Simons. He wasn't a asset. He wasn't traded for or signed this off season, but he was already on the team. But him as the backup point guard will help out too because he's going to grow into that role. He's not going to have to. You're not going to have to depend a lot on him, but he showed me some flashes last year that he can be able to come in and play that backup point guard spot. So Portland, they're super depthy. They just need to have the injury luck on their side, and hopefully the stuff that stung them last year, even though they came through in the bubble and they made the playoffs and did all that, they were a top four team for real last year, barring injuries. But injuries destroyed their whole season. So if they could get some health around them this year and the depth that they got, that kind of helped them out with if they do run into some injury problems. So I think Portland probably had the best offseason,
You think they had the best offseason?
arguably. There's other there's to me there's tiers. So
I mean, I'm looking at it right now, and even though we don't have every move they made, they did make some, some decent moves. Like they got Derrick Jones Jr. That's some explosiveness. He probably come off the bench.
yeah, it's another defender.
Yeah.
Miami couldn't sign him because he would have wanted too much money. It probably would have wanted an extra year, and they're trying to preserve that cap space.
Right. But yeah. I mean, when I look at the updated list, it'll probably look way better than this. But I won't, I think it's a stretch to say they had the best offseason moves.
And it's not a stretch because I mean, you could argue better? Maybe the Lakers.
I mean, I'm looking at it, and I don't see them going that further in the playoffs because they're gonna reach.
That's a Western Conference problem more than your team problem.
Right.
I look at Portland to be kind of where Denver was last year. That maybe
Yeah, shocker.
not necessarily a shocker, but they're good enough to go far. It's just it's gonna come down to matchups. Portland probably would have went far last year if they didn't deal with the Lakers round one. That's the matchup. If they're the 4 or 5 seed, like Portland probably beats the Rockets last year, but they didn't have that opportunity. So it's just gonna boil down into Western is a different animal. And another underrated factor that hasn't been spoken on is that the new playoff situation where that eight, I think it's 7 through 10, they're still having a shot to compete for it. So it kind of boils down to that's why the depth is so important with that too. I need to have myself above that eighth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th spot. So Portland doing what they did, they could be in the 5 or maybe even 3 range, and that's why that offseason is so to me dope because they had their guys. You have Damian Lillard, you have CJ McCollum. So when you bring people in that can complement them and not have to get rid of those guys, that's why it's one of the best off seasons because they didn't give up a lot, but they got a lot back and they already had a lot still there. So that's what makes it worth it to me.
Okay. All right. Well, before we go to break, let's do the Bucks real quick and see what they got. Also,
Shut your mouth, Bucks. That's number one. Shut your mouth. Because that's what killed them more than anything. That's why Brogdon's sitting there in Atlanta. Shut your mouth.
golly, man.
That's what happened. Shut your mouth.
Can I say the rest? I was gonna say we got some comments of Michelle Martin. I feel like you know her more than
Yeah.
anything.
What's up, Michelle?
Said, hey fam, Logan Morris said something about the 2021 All-Star game is postponed.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, they're gonna it's
I
not
haven't
they're gonna have an all-star break, but
right.
they're not gonna play a game. They just really give them rest. 5 days
Okay.
rest, I think.
I mean, I haven't been paying attention that much to the news, but it got postponed. That's crazy. But all right. So where we at the Bucks before you just went off on a whole?
Shut the buck up. That's what needs to happen.
I don't know where that had to come
Get a
from,
shirt that says "Shut the buck up." That's what they need.
but they drafted Jordan Nwora, 45th overall, Sam Morrell, 60th overall. Rajon Tucker was undrafted, but I guess they picked him up. They traded for Drew Holiday. Free agency, they got DJ Augustine, which I don't know why he's still playing. Bobby Portis, Jalen Adams. The players that they lost was Eric Bledsoe, George Hill. Free agency, they lost Wesley Matthews, Sterling Brown, Robin Lopez, Cal Corver, Frank Mason, Cameron Reynolds. They waived Ersa
You're Ilyasova.
Ilyasova.
Yep.
Wasn't he like their second?
Shooter.
He was one of their best players, wasn't
No, no, no. He
he? Like
this
he came off the bench at times.
yeah.
He was hot at times, wasn't he?
He can get hot, yeah, but he was a liability on the defensive end.
That's crazy. And the Marvin Williams retired.
Yeah,
So
he was tired of that. No, I mean the Bucks. They had a good off season. It should have been better though. That Brogdon, I mean not Brogdon, Bogdanovich destroyed them, and that's why I said they got to shut up. Because that's what cost them. It's a press release before he can even sign and trade. When it came out, I looked at it like, how could he? I wasn't gonna tell nobody because I ain't no snitch. But
oh wait, that's what happened.
yeah, it was now they're gonna get fined for tampering too, which that sucks. It's basically like taking somebody out on a date, paying for everything, and they not showing up. That's exactly what happened. They cashed out for somebody they ain't getting. But Drew Holiday's that was a great pickup. It's just nothing's gonna matter if that doesn't keep Giannis happy. That's what they're doing is they're trying to keep Giannis happy. They're gonna have to keep Giannis happy because if Giannis leaves, it's gonna destroy Milwaukee. Not even just the team, it's gonna destroy the economy in Milwaukee because he brings so much to that. You
I
know,
mean, I don't know about the draft, but the only thing that I can see that keeps him there is Drew Holiday.
well, Drew he adds a strength to a strength because their defense was phenomenal.
Right.
And you add Drew there, he's going to definitely help that. But he's a significant upgrade over Eric Bledsoe. And Eric Bledsoe is it's kind of like we've seen this movie too many times that you didn't show up in the playoffs. You got to go. He got to go. And you upgrade by getting him up out of there. But Drew, you had to give up a lot of picks for him, which I like that you got him, but Drew's still on the north side of 30. So if that keeps you honest, it's well worth it. If Giannis leaves and you still have Drew and that's about it, then you're stuck. I think what the most important thing about Drew is Drew helps Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton had, he has the tendency to sometimes just be off. And if that's the case, you have Drew Holiday, who's always on. Drew Holiday is criminally underrated. It's a shame how much underappreciated he really is. But at the end of the day, he brings stability to that team. He would have made, if they would have been able to get Bogdanovich, that would have been a move. Because Drew Holiday, he's one of those kind of dudes that makes everybody else better. The shooters are a lot better. The defense will be a lot better. But not being able to have Bogdanovich, that's gonna hurt a lot. But I mean, I guess you can look at it like you can't really miss what you never had either. Bobby Porter should help out a lot because he can play small ball five. I don't even want to say small ball five because he's 6'11", but he can stretch the floor out. He can rebound. He can block some shots. He can do a lot of stuff that you need that Ilyasova left on the table when he left out. Robert Lopez left out. Like that's what Bobby Portis is really doing. Is he's the one guy. He's the one guy that can do what five other people were doing for you because he does a little bit of everything. Not nothing really great, but he does a lot of things really good. So you add that aspect out of there, then that definitely helps. But again, everything just like with Philly, nothing's going to matter if Giannis gets up and dips. So Drew Holiday can end up looking like Mo Williams if Giannis leaves. Like that's just the truth.
Right.
Mo Williams was a great piece to Cleveland when LeBron was still there. LeBron leaves, So I mean that was the thing. And one thing about the Drew Holiday trade, it was a win-win for both squads too, though. Like I like to see that. Too often in the NBA, players want to get pennies on the dollar with the moves. They want to give little and get a lot. So anytime I see a win-win trade, I love to see that. Even though I still think it was a lot of draft capital to give up, none of that's gonna matter if you have Giannis, and that's why it's so important. If you don't have those first-round picks when Giannis ain't there, that's going to set your franchise back. But if you don't have those first-round picks when Giannis is still there, you're picking in the late round anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much. And no first-round picks is going to help Milwaukee win the championship at least over the next couple of years. So they didn't have. I would say the offseason is probably like a B.
Okay. All right. All right. So when we come back, we're gonna do the Bulls, and we're gonna try to march through this a little quicker, just a little faster. Since we started late, but it's almost 1:30 right now.
Hey,
So time is moving, so we're gonna try to march through this. But when we come back, we'll be talking about the Bulls, their moves, and a whole lot of other teams. So make sure y'all tune
we back.
in. Yes, sir. We back. We back. And if you didn't know, we got a little addition to us.
What it
Teacher
do?
Ty right over there.
What it do, peeps? How's it going?
Teacher Todd.
Teacher Ty in the building. Wait, hold up. Speaking to your mic again.
Speaking to my mic again.
All right.
Speaking to my mic again. Am I speaking?
Yeah,
I'm good.
yeah, you good.
Can y'all
you good.
can y'all hear my beautiful voice?
All right, relax now. Relax. Relax now. But yeah, we're back in business. Open gym. I don't think I said it, but we're presented by Mojo Sports Gear. I want to still say. So make sure y'all go there, get all your sports gear from Mojo. Um, here in the Safranco studio at Score on There, or in the OMS building. I am messing up. It
Went
don't
to the
matter.
after last
We
night.
are here at the Safranco studio at the Ohio Media School in Columbus, Ohio. Shout out to Mojo Sports Gear.
Yes, sir.
Get all your custom apparel needs.
Yes, sir.
And thank you to the theater people also. We want to make sure we get all. We
Yeah, make
cover
sure you
all
get
grounds
all-
in here, man.
all grounds.
That's what a professional sounds like.
That's what a professional.
Shout out to
Look,
Teacher
I never
Todd.
said I was a professional.
That's a
I'm
shame
just
because you
Well,
are. Dang.
We are professionals, right?
saying, this how I do. This how I do me. This is 100% me. This
That's
is my
good.
professionalism. So
You know that
That's
me.
crazy.
feel me? But make sure you check.
It's
us
a lot of
out.
me talk for a team, but whatever.
There is no I in team.
Man.
Make sure you check us out. Scoring Air Network at Facebook.com or scoringair.com. And Ty, y'all still do that the show or
Which
nah?
one?
Football's over, right? High school
Oh,
football, the preview show.
no.
Okay.
Our last show was like 2 weeks ago.
Mm.
Only because the only teams that we had were like the ones that we had covered.
Right.
But no, we're not doing that anymore, which
Mhm.
sucks.
Yeah, guess I don't know what to tell you to check out. Check out some shows.
Sports Unfiltered. We got
Sports Unfiltered,
Loganity.
Loganity.
Um,
What other shows out there?
Mine's coming back here in a couple weeks.
90 minutes and
90 minutes plus extra time.
still have Nutty North.
still got Nutty North Open Gym. Just make sure y'all check out Score on there. Everything.
Period.
Just period. We up and coming.
Shoot,
we
plug the
next up.
website. Scoreonair.com.
I did. I said scoreonair.com,
I
but
didn't
I
do that,
didn't
my
know. I didn't know what shows.
Like,
Also
share,
plug.
subscribe. We're gonna have some YouTube channels coming up, Spotify, all that.
That's in the
So,
work. That's in the work.
yeah, man, we working.
But let's move back to these moves, these off-season moves. So right now we talking the Bulls. The Bulls drafted Patrick Williams, Marco not even gonna pronounce that.
Yeah,
last
don't
name.
try. It's called Similac. Similac.
Devin Dotson went undrafted. Free agency, they got Garrett Temple. They lost Chris Dunn, Shaquille Harrison, Adam Mocha, and Max Strice. Other than Chris Dunn, I don't know the rest of them. So
Well, it seems like wherever you're looking at, it's a lot of guys that kind of came and gone anyway. Like they were on the roster at the end of the season. Some rude. I have a show. Nothing's more important than the show at the moment. But there were a lot of guys that 10-day contract dudes, revolving door kind of guys. There's a reason the Bulls were sucky last year. That shows with the guys that they lost. Chris Dunn was a huge loss for him, but that's what Kobe White was there for. They kind of knew that was going to happen. Chris Dunn was a top 5 pick. He ends up being the top 5 wasted pick because he didn't really show his potential there. They replaced him, which was a good thing for him. Patrick Williams added. That was a shock pick. I didn't see the Patrick Williams thing happening.
Notice that he did go 4th overall.
Yeah, that's why Toppin was there late. That's why Denny was there for the Wizards because nobody in their right mind seen that happening. Nobody seen Patrick Williams go in the top 4, but it wasn't a super reach. He just went top 5 when he was mocked to be top 10.
Right.
So
was that a shock move then?
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, but at the same time, like we talked about earlier, there was a between 4 and 11. It was like this, so it was more about your flavor. You know what I'm saying? Like some people may, you rest in peace Taco Bell in your menu, but you might want mild sauce. Some people want hot sauce. Some people don't want no type of sauce.
Right.
Some people want sour cream. And it was just really that kind of mindset when you were picking these kind of players. It was your preference, what fit. And it's not like football. Basketball is not like football, where
of all places,
food, yes. I go for food.
Of all places,
Bro, I'm hungry, bro. I want Taco Bell.
That's what I do.
Why would you choose?
There ain't even nothing at Taco Bell but freaking cinnamon squares.
Taco Bell has nothing. So he's comparing the Bulls to having nothing and trying to get what they can get from what they're presented with.
You sure you don't want that? Right. You sure you don't want that seat?
I mean,
you can have that seat.
I got where he was going. I'm just like,
it didn't look like it. Your face said otherwise.
No, I truly got where he was going.
He's always doing
just
this to
hate
me.
Taco Bell, and I hate the mention of Taco Bell.
But he's
that's
the analogy
food,
is what
right?
matters.
Yeah, I know the analogy is what matters. It's just you say Taco Bell, my face immediately just goes in disgust.
I mean, mine does too because they got rid of almost everything that's tasty in that place.
Not because they got rid of everything tasty. It's because that place has never been tasty. It's been disgusting. It's always been disgusting.
I know we ain't supposed to have no dead air, but man,
hey,
we don't have dead air.
I'm gonna send my resume in to be your new producer.
Thank you. I'll move it to the front of the line.
You can take this show. I still got Nutty North.
I was like Nutty North, bro.
But Bunk City says, "What's up, family? How about my Lakers?"
Bunk. Oh man, I ain't gonna never hear the end of that one.
Y'all keep just throwing these teams in, and I'm like, I'm trying to go in order right now. But if y'all want to talk about the Lakers, we can talk about the Lakers. You want to go into the Lakers?
We can talk about the Lakers. We can talk about the Lakers from my brother Bunk.
Yeah, what else the Bulls got to talk about? I mean, they not gonna show much. They rebuilding.
Unless Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen walk through that door, they ain't about to be much in Chicago. I mean, they have again
they got pieces. I know as much they got pieces,
Yeah,
nice
I
pieces,
mean,
but it's like they still rebuilding.
Zach Levine, Laurie Marketing, they got some guys, but
Kobe White seems to be something, I guess.
yeah, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not gonna matter.
My question is, with these new additions, do you think that the Bulls can actually have an attempt to
No.
make the playoffs, or at least get a wild card spot?
I will say
Nah,
this:
the East is getting way more powerful, way more
the
stronger. So.
the Bulls, they were in that kind of range last year, and they disappointed.
Mhm.
Billy Donovan coming over there to play to coach for the Bulls, that's a big time acquisition.
And
Acquisition,
that helps their young players right
yeah,
there.
absolutely. So, and like we talked about earlier, it's with the NBA now. There's a 7 to 10 range where you can compete to make the playoffs. So the Bulls can theoretically be the 10th seed after the regular season's over, but they'll still have a shot to beat a couple teams to make it to the playoffs. So they technically can. I just don't look for them to being in that position. I think that's why they drafted Patrick Williams, because Patrick Williams is a guy that you can kind of wait on a little bit.
Mhm.
He's not going to help you win games now, but he's not going to lose you games either. He's just a rookie that's going to find his way. But next year, when you're really ready to compete, he may be out there to learn the stuff that Billy Donovan taught him to help them compete for it.
Okay.
But right now, it's everybody kind of has a shot because everybody's 0-0.
Mhm.
But in reality, just like in any sport, just because you're 0-0 doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. You're going to go north or you're going to go south.
I
Bulls are
mean, he
probably
has a
going
little
south.
bit more optimism for them, but me personally, I'm like the Bulls. They not gonna make it. They gonna be down there with the Cavs.
Well, I want to keep the Bulls fans watching this show. You got to give them a little optimism.
Of all people, you want to keep the Bulls fans watching.
Yeah, it's called ratings, sir. Every eye helps, man. Sheesh.
But Bunk says they need to trade Levine, which
I can agree with that.
yeah, I can see that they could get something for him, but at the
But-
same time, they probably need him more than
But
anything.
where would he go?
I don't
Is the
know.
question.
That's a big thing. He
Guess
has
the Magic
value.
is of all places, I feel like he could go to.
He has value.
And team up with oh my god, I'm blanking on his name now.
What's his name? Aaron Gordon.
Yeah.
In Orlando,
Yeah,
yeah, he can do that.
yeah. I feel like they both will be. Yeah, that actually would help.
I tell you what, that freaking them freaking dunks coming out of that would be crazy. Zach Levine and Aaron Gordon on the same roster, man. 2K.
And yet Zach Levine would still somehow win the slam dunk championship.
That man, listen, I don't even want to get on that one. That robbery, and
Man,
man,
I know.
man.
It's crazy.
But transitioning back to the Lakers, they are that tier I was talking about. They're in that same tier with Portland
Right.
as far as rebranding their roster. You add Schroeder. Matter of fact, read off the acquisition. I want to take your
Bunk
jury.
also said repeat after.
See, he always want to jump the freaking gun, Bunk.
And
Give you a little bit, you want to take a lot.
he also said watch out for the Hawks in the East, and he said Levine could go to Phoenix, which I could see that, but I'm not gonna lie. Even though I threw a name out there, the Magic actually sound better.
Magic does sound better.
Sound more attractive. Aaron Gordon and Gordon and Zach Levine. Yeah, that sounds a little bit more attractive, at least to me.
That'll be dope.
It brings attention back to Orlando that hasn't been there in years. But to read off the Lakers, they picked up Montrezl Harrell. They didn't draft anyone.
No, they traded. Well, technically, Dennis Schroeder is their draft pick because that's what they traded their pick.
Okay.
Their pick for.
I was gonna say for a minute, like, did they trade it? But yeah, they traded them all. Okay, so they picked up Montrezl Harrell. That's a big pickup. Wesley Matthews. That's also a big pickup. They re-signed Markieff Morris, which, I mean, he made one mistake, but it's whatever. They traded for Dennis Schroeder, Jordan Bell, and Alonzo McKinney, which they dropped them just for money. They lost Danny Green, thank God. JaVale McGee, that's kind of hurts because then they lost Rondo, Avery Bradley, Dwight Howard, Jared Dudley, J.R. Smith, Deion Waiters, your favorite person, Coates.
We almost got through the freaking show without a Dion Waiters reference, man.
They also lost Coates onto the Kupo, the real Greek freak, and they waived Quinn Cook.
That's a dishonor.
He does this. He does
Come on
this.
now. He's the brother with a ring. Am I wrong?
Touche.
Am I wrong?
I can't argue with that one.
Oh yeah, they also picked up Marcus All, which I thought I had the updated list and I don't even got that.
Yeah, one
So-
job.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought Howard wanted to stay in LA.
He did. He
He
even tweeted it out, and then
Yeah. I saw his
he
tweet.
signed with the 76ers. It's crazy.
The wait, Howard signed with the 76ers?
yeah.
Well,
He
Wow.
yeah, he signed with 76ers.
Dwight does that though. Dwight definitely does that.
Man is
He's
always on the move.
he's a talk about food. That's the guy you don't want to see at Chipotle line. I'm gonna tell you that much because he gonna get chicken.
All right, this one completely was out
I'm
of
telling
left
you,
field.
he can't make up his mind. And then he got his baby mama drama too at the same time, man. He better off in Philly. That's probably why. That's probably what happened. He probably tweeted that out, and then his baby mom and his son retweeted. It was like, "Yay, daddy!" He was like, "You know what? On second thought, let me go to Philly. I'm getting as far away from my responsibilities as possible."
Real quick, you can't save him, Bunk. They did not have a miscommunication. That man, that's not a miscommunication. You don't tweet out, "I'm staying here, Lake Show," and then your agent's automatically like, "Yeah, you just signed with the 76ers." Like he chose that. He chose that. That's
the
not a
white man.
miscommunication.
As the white. But I mean, the number one thing they did was the Dennis Schroeder thing. That was a great move because Dennis Schroeder, he's a guy that will give you that spark. He can start. He can come off the bench. He's one of those guys that he's different than Rondo in the landscape of Rondo's going to push the ball, get to the lane. He's going to throw a oop. He's going to drop you off a pass. He's going to look to do that. Dennis Schroeder's looking to score, but especially with the shorter offseason, and I'm going to give you some quotations because the Lakers are doing more crying about the offseason being shorter than the offseason really was short. But that's going to help you rest LeBron a lot. Harold, it's a double win because you put him on your roster. B, you took him off one of your number one competitors' rosters too. So anytime you can help yourself and hurt somebody else, I hate that in real life and most aspects of life. I hate when you have to put somebody down to bring yourself up, except for sports. When you can do that, that's a win. So you add that in. Never mind the fact that that was number one and number two, the six man of the year award winner and runner up. You add that to your mix. That's going to help you tremendously to keep your top guys healthy. I just think just like anything else, it's all going to boil down to LeBron. At some point, he's going to have to slow up. Is it this year when he does that? I don't see it. But if that does start to happen, you help mitigate that by having Schroeder. You mitigate that by having Harrell. You mitigate that by just being able to have Anthony Davis because Anthony Davis is still young and in his prime. I know he's injury
I
prone a
mean,
lot.
but do they have Anthony Davis?
I mean, he's not going nowhere else.
I mean, yeah, but he still hasn't made any moves yet.
No, but his only other move would be to go to the Knicks, and I can guarantee you that he ain't doing that. So I mean, the Lakers is more so I'll sign when I feel like it. It's all about what I feel like doing.
I feel like that. I feel like that team. Like I feel like that matchup would be weird. Is because correct me if I'm wrong. I heard Russ is going to the Knicks, right?
They were thinking about it,
He's
but
not going.
it's going to be a lot. Russ
So he's
gets
staying in
paid a
Houston,
lot,
then.
probably.
The owner already came out and said he will make trouble for them if they try to leave.
I mean, I can see that.
Like they not going nowhere.
So the thing about the Lakers is that you mentioned that one play at the beginning. I missed the name.
Schroeder.
Yeah, you said he can provide a spark.
Yeah.
In what sense does that spark come in?
If
It's because if you have LeBron, if you have I believe they still have Caruso,
yeah,
Yeah.
and they still have
Caldwell Pope.
yeah,
hmm
you out of those three and LeBron, out of those four, where's that? They provide a spark already.
Well, Schroeder, he's a different kind of spark. Like Schroeder's more of a fast guy, speedy, push the pace. He gives you a different dimension than everybody else on his roster. Like LeBron, as great as he is, LeBron's not he's fast for his size and all that,
Yeah.
but LeBron's not a speed demon. Schroeder's a guy that's gonna get the ball here and be there that fast. He's gonna put your defense on his heels. He's gonna speed up your offense. The Lakers were, if you looked at their team last year, they were more of a bulky, kind of an old school type of mindset of a team. They're big, they're strong, they're gonna beat you up, they're gonna bloody your nose four quarters.
Yeah, they have like 6 tall guys.
Yes.
I mean, the way I looked at it is after losing Rondo, you now gain someone who could also take control of the team when LeBron's on the bench. Because the number one thing is always when he's sitting down, can that team maintain a lead?
Yeah.
Or can they get a lead? And with Schroeder, he could get that.
Hmm.
He's a shooter. I mean, he's a volume shooter more than anything.
Yeah.
And but he could also control the floor, not as well as Rondo could, but he's decent enough, and he's not. I don't think he's as good as a defender as Bradley is, but he's still a decent defender.
Yeah. And and then it's the added fact that you are talking about Shooter and Montrezl Harrell, that was the runner up and the winner of the Six Man of the Year award.
Right.
So those two aspects of when LeBron is sitting down, you're never going to be better than the number one and number two bench players in the NBA. Those are going to be the guys that's going to replace that when LeBron is out. So you add those pieces together, then you'll be able to continue to have that sustained success that you have without a drop off. Last year, that could be a drop off. Like, you needed to have Anthony Davis or LeBron James on the floor at all times. Now you can just put Schroeder and Harrell out there and run the pick and roll and still not really miss a beat. I mean, you're going to miss a beat because the best players aren't on the floor, but what you're replacing them with is you're going to get some of a comparable production from that. So that's a win. And again, you didn't have to give up a lot to get it. And then Marc Gasol. Marc Gasol is the most underrated aspect of their haul because he's a winner. He's a big body and he's so freaking smart, man. That dude he's a borderline genius. So you add that to the mix, and he's playing with LeBron, and he's playing with Shooter, he's playing with Harrell, and he's playing with Anthony Davis. That's going to do nothing but make your team better, especially at the high post.
Right.
Did you guys see that picture of Rondo sitting on? There was a picture of Rondo sitting on the court.
Oh, with his son, he was.
Yeah, I think that was the most depressing thing ever.
Depressing. What made?
Bro, it's like you just see his face sitting on the court after they won, and in the picture, it looked like that he knew
that he was gonna leave.
Yeah,
I guess
it was, but the chemistry that they all had last year, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
But that picture, he was just sitting there, just like soaking it all in, just like, man, I can't believe this is like my last game with this great team.
Mm-hmm. So but that's kind of what happens, That's that's the picture.
I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna show you.
I know exactly what picture.
Yeah,
but still, I didn't even look at it like that. I just looked at it. He was just soaking it in, and then getting ready for all season.
That term.
You can look at both sides of something.
It's like the picture is worth 1,000 words. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't know the landscape of the picture until the whole story is being told, and you're right. At that time, you're just looking at him, he's celebrating a championship. Yeah. But at the end of the day, he probably did know that he was leaving. And, they probably knew too, because they was getting him for $1 million. He wasn't getting paid more than nothing. Yeah. He was coming off of Rondo, his stock wasn't as high. You win now Rondo's over there in Atlanta with a fresh contract, and he's looked at as a valuable veteran presence in the locker room, which just 1 year ago, he was looked at as a cancer. So that was probably, a reflection. And the son had that drink on him. That was that was funny. That was super funny.
But Bunk said he still thinks they need one more shooter like Corver, which I guess you could see they lost Danny Green, which I don't know how much you would consider him a shooter. Rondo was kind of heating up for three, so they kind of lost him in the shooter. They lost JR, who he's hit or miss. Dion, who's hit or miss.
Where's Dougie McBuckets?
Jared Dudley?
I think he's still in. No, Doug McDermott. I think he's still in Indiana, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought you said.
I said Dougie McBuckets.
I thought you said Dudley McBuckets. I literally thought that's what you said.
Dougie McDermott.
No, he's still in L.A.
Oh man, but at the end of the day, they got Kuzma, so
Oh yeah, I forgot about Kuzma.
This is for the Kuzma.
I forgot about
10th man himself. He gonna be balling off that bench. I'm telling y'all.
Kuzma needs to stay out of the freaking papers for the wrong reasons. Like him. Last time I looked, it was him and NBA YoungBoy shooting shots at his girl. Like, where's the respect? Like, where is the respect?
Wait, hold on. You said NBA YoungBoy
yes.
shooting at his girl?
Yes,
he did actually.
Man,
that was
Kuzma, you might as well get that one up.
Man, give it up. It's a young boy. I don't know if you want her back if you give it a young boy.
Give her up, bro. That's not. That's a fight you do not want.
Bunk said they need to get rid of Kuz.
He ain't never liked the Kuz, man.
I don't like Kuzma. What's wrong with Kuzma, man?
But for real though, Kuzma is a a good piece still for them to have, especially with the new acquisitions, because you don't need Kuzma to deliver for you. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like
Like,
Kuzma,
he's no longer your third scorer.
no, he could help, but it's everything's about roles, and it's just I think Kuzma, and you can't argue with anything, just because the simple fact that y'all won a championship. So you can't say, well, Kuzma's this, Kuzma's the champion at the end of the day. But his role, it had to be diminished with LeBron. Now you can kind of put him out there with Harold. You can put him out there with Schroeder, and you can kind of have like a youthful bitch that can run. And now you got different playing styles that you can play with. I know we talked about soccer.
I'm gonna need you to say that word again.
What?
Just extend it out a little bit.
Or
bench.
I say what I said. I'm not repeating it. Somebody heard something different and live with it. FCC, FCC, come out.
My eyes lit up. I was like, what?
I have a few less teeth nowadays, so maybe my bench sounds a little different.
Okay. Right.
I'll bring Too Short in here to say bench next time.
Yeah, we.
How about that? But nah, man. Like at the end of the day, it's you can have a different roster. You can have a different playing style. You can have a different type when you have youth. You know, again, having LeBron James, he's getting older. He's still playing at a high level, but that still doesn't mean that you don't want to do certain things that's going to help keep him fresh. You know, LeBron doesn't. LeBron, I think, probably played. You might have to look it up. He probably played 37, 38 minutes last year. If you can get that down to 32, 33, and preserve him for the playoffs, like I believe he still needs rest. I just don't believe in sitting out games. You know, you have one job. You're an NBA player. Play as many games as possible. But you can still blow teams out. Having a good bench helps you get up high. You know, again to the soccer reference. I know you schooled me on that and the different playing styles and the different levels of doing that. You can do that in basketball too. You can, start with LeBron and Gasol and all those guys. You can slow it down a little bit. You can beat some cats up. You can run that kind of style of basketball, and then you can switch it up. Let's bring Shooter in. Let's bring Kuzma in. Let's bring Harrell in. Let's run these guys off the floor. You can't really defend that if your team's not built for that, and there's only a certain amount of teams that's going to be built to play that kind of style where you can, play any type of style.
So are the Lakers?
He played 34.6 minutes every game.
Okay, so they did knock it down a little bit. Now move that down to 30, 31. Better LeBron.
So are the Lakers building their team around LeBron then?
Well, they're going to always build it around LeBron.
Why?
Because LeBron is LeBron.
No, if anything, I feel like they're more building this around for AD to stay.
I don't think you can do that because you don't know. Because AD, I think one thing that's not being talked about as much is that might be why he's holding off on signing this contract. He's coming back to LA,
right.
But is he coming on a long-term deal or is he coming on a short-term deal? And we'll see. Because at this point, LeBron James, as great as he is, he's 36 now. He's going to have to 36. He's going to have to slow down at some point. And if you're AD, you still got to look at it. I got 10, 15 years left in this, maybe. So am I going to want to sign 5 years for somebody that may be great for 2 more, maybe great for 3 more? Or what if LeBron really does want to go somewhere else? What if he does want to play with his son? How does that impact your situation?
I mean, that's like 5 to maybe 3. What is his son like?
His son is a sophomore now.
Yeah, his son is a sophomore.
But you got to think in a couple of years that they're going to open up the high school thing again, where you can come straight out of high school. So his son will be in the NBA before you even know it.
No, his son should go to college.
He probably should, but that doesn't mean he's going to. And then again, it's his son, so you don't need the money. I can leave, not get drafted, all of that, and kind of like the third ball brother, or the middle child. He didn't play in the NBA. He didn't get drafted, but he's all right.
He's in the G League right now.
G League at the NBA. So that could be little Bronny Jr.'s. That could be his future. And if that is, you still have LeBron, that aspect. And LeBron still is good enough to do the Antetokounmpo. The Antetokounmpo brothers is there mainly because of Giannis. They're not that good, but he's in LA, or he was in LA, because maybe we can get Giannis here. The other one's in Milwaukee because maybe we can get Giannis here. So that kind of pull does help. But LeBron has never.
This is in Milwaukee.
I'm talking about the other brother.
The other brother isn't the other brother in Milwaukee?
Yeah, I'm saying
There's 3 of them.
Yeah.
Yes, 2 are Milwaukee.
Yeah, 2 in
and one is LA.
But
But what I'm saying is that he ended up in Milwaukee because of the Giannis factor. Milwaukee's not picking up his brother if Giannis ain't there. The Lakers ain't picking up the other Giannis brother if they don't think that they may have a shot at Giannis.
You could have just said Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, I'm cool. I like to be able to say words I can pronounce.
Kotas Antetokounmpo.
But it's still LeBron has shown that he doesn't necessarily care about your future. He cares about his future. So if I'm AD, I have to look at that. If I sign for 5 years and LeBron leaving too, and we gave up all our draft picks and stuff, then I'm back in New Orleans.
Well, that just kind of goes to what Bunk was saying. He said trade Kuz for some draft picks or something else.
Bunk will trade Kuz for
Anything,
a
it seems.
pack of cool smokes. Like he would trade Kuz for some cool whip.
But I
Yeah,
mean, like,
what about for some Taco Bell?
Ty, you gonna make me get some Taco Bell when I leave this?
I'm about to order Taco Bell when I get back downstairs.
What is even on that menu? I feel like they got their menu is napkins.
Doritos, Locos Tacos.
Oh, they still have that.
Okay,
Oh,
hold
they
on.
got
You
it
said
for
they
the
still
meat.
got the Doritos Locos Tacos? Sure. That's the only good thing on that menu. That's it.
You're fried.
Nah, that's it.
Yeah, get out that producer.
You can take it for next week. I got it right now. All right, but let's move on. We'll try to do one more team, maybe two more teams.
We got one more.
Yeah, let's talk about the Suns. They made a lot of considerable big moves. You know, I can't say everything I want about the Suns because a lot came out about them after they went 8-0 in the bubble. A lot came out about them. Yeah, they got a little surprise in the hotel room. Let's just say that. But
You man, this new generation, man, don't know how to shut their mouth. Apparently,
but they drafted Jalen Smith, 10th overall. Traded for Chris Paul, Abdul Nader. I think I said his name. I butchered that.
I feel
Jay
like it's
Crowder,
Nadir, but okay.
Etwan Moore, Dario. They re-signed Dario.
Yep.
I'm not saying his last name. They lost Ricky Rubio, Ty Jerome, Kelly Oubre, who I feel is the biggest loss. Jalen, not saying his last name. I think it's LeQ.
Yep.
They lost Aaron Bynes, Check Diallo.
Check Diallo.
Check Diallo.
Yep.
What?
My guy, you really need to start. You really need to learn how to pronounce these names.
Frank Kaminsky, Tariq Owens. That's who they lost. So what you got to say about that one?
They did the best they could do by getting Chris Paul. Really, I mean, you're serious now. So I mean, Oubre, you got to lose something to get something.
Right.
That's collateral damage for being able to get a Chris Paul. It's just that I think with Phoenix, they are in that playoff hunt. I don't think nothing's guaranteed. I think Phoenix is the definition of what this new playoff thing is all about, where they could be a fifth seed if everything goes right. They could be a 10th seed if everything doesn't. So it just boils down to how Chris Paul and Devin Booker, how that backcourt can carry them, and DeAndre Ayton, because he was a 15 and 11 guy all year last year without really much help. Now you got Chris Paul, who's probably, if not, I'm not going to call him the best point guard in the league, but as far as best pure point, as far as assist and getting the ball to the right place at the right time, no, there's nobody better than Chris Paul. Still doing that. He showed that he could carry a team with lack of talent and take him further too. And that's really a great match because Phoenix did the same thing in the bubble. I think Chris Paul and Phoenix is a great match. It's just we have to see how everybody else meshes around them. But their stars are going to be able to play with them and give them a fighting chance, which I think is they went 8-0 in the bubble, but I don't think Phoenix still, even with that, was a playoff team. They didn't make it, obviously, but there's a reason you can go undefeated in the bubble and still not be in the playoffs because you are not a good team.
Multiple reasons you could go undefeated in the bubble.
Yeah, touche.
Sure.
Touche, but it's gonna be interesting.
3,000. Yes, sir. 3,000.
3,000.
Man, they gotta shut up in this generation.
Vacuum cleaner, 3,000. All I gotta say.
Boy, oh boy.
But yeah, looking at it, I mean, they improved probably to maybe a second round team at best.
Yeah,
But
they're still not a championship contender, but
like you can see they're improving. Like the Suns are no longer that that laughing stock that they used to be.
Mm. Their ownership still stinks, and Oubre kicked them in a woohoo on the way out. So did Ricky Rubio, but there was no lies detected or told.
Right.
They take the cheap way out a lot of times. They should have Phoenix really should have been competing for playoff spots and all that, but their owner is cheap, which it defeats the purpose of buying a team. I never got that aspect of it, but there's you that's the collateral damage that comes with that. And I mean they have tried to switch that up by adding Chris Paul to the mix. So we'll see how that plays out. At least it's another exciting team out there. So I'm good with it. More competition, the better.
And it just makes the West even harder to win. Then.
Yeah, but
we all know the Lakers are probably gonna repeat. So
it's a strong chance. But
that's a strong chance.
it's the more parity, the better. And this NBA is way better than the Golden State Warriors dynasty time frame, where all the good players were on a few good teams.
That's
And
crazy. I wanted to talk about Clay's injury too, but we'll talk about that next week.
that's the beauty of having a show each week.
Yes, sir. Because we still got more to talk about.
Mhm.
We ain't get through all the teams, but
Nah. Next week we'll finish the rest of the squads. Ty, you got an open invite? You already
If
know.
I'm here. Well, wait, I will be here. I teach next week, so
yeah, I was gonna say you still a teacher, Ty.
yeah, no.
He's always gonna be Teacher Ty.
Always gonna be
I
teacher.
don't care if Ty's 100. I'm gonna still call him Teacher Ty.
Teacher Ty. Yes, sir.
It's like
But,
y'all and Logan calling me that. It's like I might as well get a name tag.
Teacher Ty or Ty the guy. One of the two.
Ty the guy. Teacher Ty.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, that's open gym for today. Next week we'll try to be on time. At least I'll try to be on time.
For the record, I was here on time.
He don't have to show. He ain't had to show that.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, he did. He came downstairs before I even came up here to teach class.
Thank you.
He said wait on Rondell.
Ty, your invite has been revoked.
I like to hear that from the actual start of the show here.
You got a producer chair. That's how you need it.
Boss chair right here.
I haven't fired him in a couple weeks, so
All
it's
right.
about due.
Okay. But yeah, we'll catch y'all next time. Be here on time. We'll continue this all season talk, get into more of it. Yeah, just.
I'll try to be a little bit more prepared for next week.
I'll try to have energy and study up more.
And we out.
You never have energy.
What's wrong with my